Topic A, control statements. So let's start with this concept of program flow. Program flow describes how a program is executed. So namely in Python, you have a top-down method. So line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So line by line. And it executes this way, and it's plain to understand until you reach something like a control statement. In which point a program sort of branches. It takes the if route here or the else route there, or maybe one of the elifs. So we're going to get into what that means. So a control statement is a structure that conditionally changes the program flow. The way that that works is there is a condition, a Boolean condition. So maybe if x is greater than 10. Now if that's true, you do something. And if it's not true, well, you do something else. So a control statement can be used to repeatedly and conditionally execute the same code. So the control statement, for example, a plain if, you execute something once, depending on the decision, a while, you'll repeatedly execute it. Two main control statements in Python are if and while, and I've been mentioning them for a while now, so here they are. The if statement. The if statement allows you to execute a block of code if a condition is true. Like I said, if name double equals to Sonia, then custom greeting for me, for example. It also has this thing called an else. So if that condition isn't true, then whatever is inside the else runs. The else is an optional. And finally, you can chain multiple if statements. If. You can also use something if, elif, else. And we're going to get into that and why it's important. So here's the basic syntax of an if statement. In Python code, you have if, that is that condition. Name double equals to Bob, x is greater than 10. Game over double equals to false. Like many things come to mind, all sort of Boolean expressions. If that Boolean expression evaluates to true, then whatever is indented here runs. That can be multiple lines of code. There's no limit, basically. Anything indented right here runs. And if it's not true, everything indented in the else runs, provided that the else is there. All right, next. Here's an example of the if statement. So here we have release here, which is a string, just for fun. The next one will be an integer. And you have a question. The answer is saved as a string. When was Python first released? So now if you type in 1991, answer will equal to release year. It will print, congratulations, that is correct. Otherwise, it'll print incorrect. You see that by is actually outside of that if and else, so it'll always print by. So the elif kind of introduces multiple possibilities. So here, the release here is an integer. We also save the answer as a string, but we convert it to an integer. And we give feedback based on if your answer is greater or less than release year. So like if you get it right, then great. But if not, provided you've entered an integer and it can convert here, it'll actually say, hey, no, that's too late. Like if your release year is too big, and if your release year is too small, it'll say, no, that's too early. And again, it will always print by. So time to get a bit hands-on and play around with the if, elif, else statements in code. All right, so let's get hands-on with the if, elif, else statements. First, I'm going to create a very simple program that gets an input from a user. I'm going to ask the user, what is your name? And then we're going to make different responses depending on what the user says that their name is. So let's just ask that question. There's two ways you can do this. I mean, you can say name equals the input and then put a statement inside the input, or you could have done a print statement above this. But that print statement can be here. You can just say, what is your name? And because they're going to print this line. So here we go. If name double equals to Bob. If name double equals to Bob, then we're going to print, hey Bob, how are you doing? Hey Bob, how are you doing? So we can test this. Right click, run. And if we say anything other than Bob, I'm going to put my name, Sunny, nothing happens because this if statement doesn't get executed. But if we do say Bob, it'll say, hey Bob, how you doing? So you can basically copy and paste this, right? And then just go for another person, like Alice. Bob, Alice, I don't know, say something else. Hey Alice, nice to see you. We run it. What is your name? We can type in Alice, and it'll give you a custom response. So, hey Alice, nice to see you. And then we can, I don't know, add another one if you want. So we can make that Sally. And something random. Happy birthday, Sally. Let's assume Sally's birthday is here. So if we type in Sally, obviously, you'll get this custom response. But now let's add a wrinkle to this. Let's go and say else. And then we can say print, I don't know you. We're going to use the name that we saved up there, so name, and then we can print go away. Now, let's play a little game. You are going to predict the output of what happens next. So, I'm going to type in Bob, just pause here, predict, and see what happens. Hey Bob, how you doing? You get this custom response, but then you have this else. I don't know you, go away. And we do that for Alice, same problem. But if we do that for Sally, you only get the custom response. That is because if else are a pair, so these basically get checked, and if that is true, that executes. But then it checks if it's Sally, and the else simply means if not Sally. So Bob is not Sally, and then it's going to say, I don't know you, Bob, go away, because Bob is not Sally. There's a simple way to do this, and this is why the elif statements are used. So this is a more practical example than the one I had in the slides, and I actually did this on purpose to set you guys up to run into a problem, because if you see the issue between using if instead of an elif, and that makes your program working properly, you're more likely to remember it. So I'm going to run it here, and you'll see that no matter who I put, you only get that one custom response. Bob, hey Bob, how you doing? You know, Alice, and anybody else, anyone, I don't know you, anyone, go away. So there is an example of if, elif, else statements. So I just want to quickly visually recap what you guys just saw. So in the case of that first program, you had if, else. So each if basically checked if the name is Bob and then gave a custom response. Checked if the name is Alice. But when it came to Sally, that was the decision. So Alice and Bob both got that response for not Sally, which was I don't know you, go away. I don't know you, Alice, go away. I don't know you, Bob, go away. And so this is not visually the structure that you want, because what you do want is that structure. You want basically if name is Bob, custom response for Bob. If name is Alice, custom response for Alice. If name is Sally, custom response. Otherwise, just a general response, go away, I don't know. And in practice, there you go. That is the difference between if else and if elif else. It is visually represented in this diagram, and